And we talk a
And I
lot
definitely
about,
felt that too. Now that I think about burnouts, that kind of ties in around like the last year before I took my unannounced hiatus to go to school. Because around that last year of content creation of like 2016, like I was like just burnt out on YouTube as a whole.
right.
And content create. It got to a point where it just like I even like noticed myself where it's just like, man, like everything that I create is just like the same thing every month.
Of
Like
course.
there's no growth. It just feels like I'm putting out a video, a
Yeah.
song, and
There's like nothing worse than for an artist to feel that they can't evolve their work even if they tried. That seems to be like an ultimate stab in the back. Is just, I can't get better. Like I locked in like one position. I can't, because like one thing we've said a lot of this podcast is just that art kind of feels like you just constantly creating something that's a little bit better than what you created before or whatnot. And I think that's kind of the ideal position.
Yeah.
And people who don't let their content evolve or whatnot, I think that's the people who start to struggle creatively the most, is just people who strive for the same or whatnot. And YouTube is kind of tough for that because people subscribe for a specific type of content.
Exactly.
So, you see those trends quite frequently. But you have to give appreciation towards the people who are able to evolve and keep, audiences engaged in the way or whatnot. There are several channels from the dinosaur times that are still up and kicking, making different kind of content to this day because they did some slight adjustment. But basically, it's very important to always leave room for your content to evolve, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of those like old channels that are still sticking around today. Like having made those adjustments, you still see the line that connects everything throughout them. They
Absolutely.
haven't really like gone through like some radical change that has like lost like most of their following.
We mentioned him earlier, but like Peanut Butter Gamer, for an example, his content has changed a little bit since when he like first started, but there's always this string of consistency that you see. And I think that consistency is ultimately just his passion. And like his passion remains in his videos when he's creating or whatnot. And that's the part you want to keep. You want to keep the passion. And then ultimately, one thing that's kind of great about YouTube is that it is a little bit more personality specific. So if you're keeping the passion within yourself and being true to yourself inside that consistent form of content, a lot of people, even if they don't totally understand it, are watching because of your personality or whatnot, and that's kind of one of the better things about YouTube. Obviously, there's some things that's not so great about YouTube, but basically, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you said the consistency that could be found in those channels. There's always that passion that you can still see, and regardless of what kind of video they're making. And
exactly.
Yeah,
like that's what ultimately like keeps the viewer engaged. Like if you're into what you're creating, so as long as that's happening, then everything's all good.
Definitely.
Because I've seen different channels outside of gaming where it's the complete opposite, where they've made those adjustments because of YouTube, but it's very clear that they don't even enjoy those
they would normally make.
Exactly. Right. So, and those channels, like, unfortunately, I've kind of like, not doing as good or like crashing down completely. So it sucks to see, but there are different sides after all. Yeah,
there are. I mean, and there's no big guidebook. It's not like you sign up your channel, they mail you a giant 3,000 page book or something with just all like the rules and like, by the way, YouTube's gonna change before you know it, so get ready,
so even if that came out, it would be outdated in the next week.
Yes, exactly. By the time it ships, it's outdated, and they have like a couple more amendments they need to add or whatnot. But ultimately, just create what you want to create, and I feel like that's ultimately gonna have so much more longevity to it than creating what you think people want to see, because ultimately people do want to see what you want to create, or at least they want to see what people want to create. Audiences, there are demographics and whatnot, and people like certain type of videos, but I feel like for the most part with YouTube, people subscribe to see the people and not the content created. And I feel like that's what kind of divides the platform from other platforms a little bit, at least like more traditional ones like cable and whatnot. A lot of times people even then, actors have a big play. I don't know. But stay true to your personality,
exactly.
Enjoy what you're creating.
And that kind of ties in back to the talk of me rebranding as well, because that was just me, focusing in and realizing it's just like, you know what, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. I don't care how boring it is.
Right.
Because here's the thing about taking 3 years off. The attention span of the internet is really, really short.
It's lower than 3 years, that's for sure.
Yeah. So Someone like myself, if I just like outright disappear without a word for that long and come back, it's tough to say, but no one remembers who I am. So if anything, that was like a blessing for me, because like this is the perfect time for me to start over, because I can do it without any guilt or qualms at all.
Of course, yeah.
Because it's literally, I'm just starting over.
Hey there. You just watched a clip from my creative podcast. If you'd like to check out the full episode, you can support me over on Patreon. And if not, you can subscribe to check out more clips coming here soon.